Hello and welcome to another session of Meet the Artist online series with the Hong Kong Philharmonic Orchestra. I'm Dennis Wu and would like to welcome all our audiences now watching on Facebook and YouTube. And joining me today is the music director of Hong Kong Philharmonic Orchestra, who I think we are all familiar with, Jaap van Zweden. Maestro, welcome back.
Thank you so much.
And how is your trip back to Hong Kong?
Long, because you know, we are not able to fly over Russia, so we have to fly around Russia. So it's about 2.5 hours longer than normally spoken.
Do you have any stopover this time?
No. I came from Amsterdam, Germany, Hong Kong.
I see.
Yeah.
So the flight takes longer time. It seems that it's quite normal nowadays.
Nowadays it's normal. Yes.
Take longer time. And finally you're here, and
yes.
We also have witnessed the season opening last week with you, that you brought with us the Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. And how do you feel when you conduct this work?
How do I feel? Well, you know, every day you feel different. So this work is at this time was very special for me, because you know, the meaning of this piece is to bring peace and to, you know, celebrate in a way, of course, life. And after such a long time, not being here, not being with my orchestra members, not being with my public, I thought that this piece was the perfect piece. And also, not only that, but also to work with the Hong Kong Philharmonic Chorus. Actually, it was the first time that we really did a very serious, big work together. And I was very impressed by them. And knowing that they're all, I mean, most of the people are amateurs. And that it was for me the first time to work with them on a big piece like this. Yeah, it made me really happy. And also a lot of expectations for the future, I would say, with them. Yeah,
I think this is also a very great work of especially for the choral member, because it would be a once in a lifetime experience to sing in this work and also with you also. And of course, this work has, you mentioned that this work has some special meaning, especially in this time.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the meaning that you would like to raise?
Well, you know, the meaning is, of course, that we have been isolated from each other. No, I'm not talking only about me being isolated from the orchestra, but for a long time, orchestra members were isolated from each other. Society was isolated. And coming together and then sing, you know, this piece is about singing, is the most powerful instrument, I think, still is the voice. And so this was a sort of a cry out, I would say, of celebration that we finally can be together again. And also, I missed the orchestra for a really long time. And it is amazing, actually, how fast, in a few days' time, the orchestra and I got together and getting back the sound that we all love so much and that we worked so hard for the last 12 years. And so, yeah, you know, the meaning of this piece was actually being together again and embrace each other and make music again.
Yes, I think the bonding and also the human connection
Yeah.
means a lot, and especially when we have a lot of time that is being separated and also cannot make music in the hall together.
Yeah.
And that is a way to celebrate a lot with Beethoven's masterpiece.
Absolutely. And I was especially, I would say, amazed that the chorus was sounding so well, and knowing that they had to sing with them, you know, with a mask.
Yes.
That was something I was a little bit afraid of, to be honest. But they did really well. Yeah.
I think at the audience, I was at the audience and was so impressed and also so moved by the performances and also by hearing this great work live again and with the musicians and also the chorus member in flesh, and we hear them in flesh. It's actually quite a memorable experience, especially in this time.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah, and well, to all who just joined us on YouTube and Facebook, I'm now talking with Maestro Jaap van Zweden, the music director of the Hong Kong Philharmonic Orchestra, who opened the season with us just then with Beethoven, the Ninth Symphony. And we'll be taking some questions. And if you have any question for Maestro with the music that he's going to bring us in this season, feel free to drop a line on Facebook or YouTube and let us have some music right now, because we prepared some of the past seasons recording for you to enjoy. So we talked about Beethoven, so maybe we recap a little bit about the Beethoven Symphony No. 7 that Maestro brought us with us last year in the 7th Symphony for the first movement, conducted by Jaap van Zweden with the Hong Kong Philharmonic Orchestra. So that's Beethoven's Symphony Number 7, a very energetic performance done by Maestro and the Hong Kong Philharmonic Orchestra last year. So we heard a little bit of the first movement, the exposition. And after Beethoven this week, Maestro led us with the Ninth Symphony. So we will continue, and Maestro has been working very hard right now with the orchestra, with Bruckner.
Yes.
So that will be the 7th Symphony. And so you worked with the orchestra previously with other Bruckner symphonies like number 4 or number 8. And so this time we are now working on the number 7. And can you tell us a little bit about how you think about this symphony?
Well, it's very interesting. This is the symphony where Bruckner uses for the first time the tenor tubas, the Wagner tubas.
4 of them.
Yes, 4 of them, and he uses also a big cymbal for a big climax. And this climax, actually, there is a story that in this movement, we are talking about the second movement. He honored Richard Wagner. And he really adored Wagner as a composer. And then he heard in this second movement, at certain point, that Wagner died. He passed away. And this big climax is actually about how much pain he feels about Wagner dying. And it is a symphony, I think, with a big love for Wagner. And especially in this second movement, you can really hear that. It's one of my favorite works of Bruckner. And Bruckner as a composer is, for me, a very special composer, because with a lot of composers, it's always about them and themselves and about their inner personal life. And with Bruckner, I feel it always a little bit different. This is a very religious person who sits behind his organ, plays the organ, and he's not talking about emotions so much. He's more talking about what comes after emotion. So if there is a road to heaven, I always think myself, and then of course we have our life on earth, and that's a lot about emotions and feelings. And then the next stage is about beauty. And all these roller coaster of emotions are gone. And then if there is a road to the light, to the holy light, I think that Bruckner is closer to the light than, for instance, a composer like who I love, of course, Mahler. And sometimes I say, Mahler was all his life, he was searching for God. And Bruckner found him in his music. And so, I just love Bruckner. It is always for an orchestra very difficult, because, just searching for beauty without emotion roller coasters needs a different technique.
You mean also the musical technique, or use the appreciation technique of how to decode the music?
Yeah, well, you need a different technique of understanding the music. It has a different, I just try to explain to you about how I approach this composer and how I experience him as a composer. And the devotion of his work, it was never about him. It was only about the music itself. And that is, for me as a person, a great example of how to live, actually.
It seems that it's a very interesting combination of emotion and transcendence.
Yeah.
From it, because the music, like in the second movement, the emotion output is actually very strong, and for a lot of audiences, I think this emotion is actually not very difficult to experience. But for transcendence, it's really another matter.
Yeah, because feelings, they come and they go, but beauty is always there. So concerning feelings, one day you feel this, and the other day you feel that, and a lot of things happening in your personal life, so you can reflect that on the music. But beauty is just beauty. And
it seems that there's the eternal, there's some value, have an eternal meaning, because beauty is not something relative, because we consider beauty as something very abstract and absolute, because the beauty is beauty. It's not something relatively beauty or something like that.
But there is a big difference between emotional roller coaster music, and just beauty. That is a thing you can experience. Let me give you a good example of two composers who you could see like that. It's Shostakovich, also about emotions and about roller coaster, and Prokofiev. If you would go to a museum and you see one picture of Prokofiev and one picture of Shostakovich, the picture, he will grab you by the throat and pulls you in the the picture, in the picture, and you are part of that picture. And with Prokofiev, you just look at the picture and you don't become part of it, but you just look at it and you look at the beauty of the picture. And that's a little bit the same with Mahler and Bruckner. Yes, I would say, yeah.
In a German fashion and also in Russian fashion, but still it's something like pull you in, or you become a spectator of that.
Yes, witness.
Yes.
To witness this.
Because you also have a very first-person viewpoint of the music and also with the object. So you're not only a spectator, like having no relationship with you, but you are also actually very actively looking at the picture.
Yeah, but at the same time, when you are just when you just look at it, you can still have a very close relationship with that.
That's a very interesting parable, and also the actually because a lot how we approach Bruckner, and actually Bruckner has had a hard time at his era, finding the audience. And Seventh Symphony is one of the first, I think, the first symphony that he is really welcomed.
Yes, very successful actually.
Yeah, very successful, and actually that came quite late in his life, and so there are some kind of attractions to the public. So you shared a little bit about how you loved Bruckner. Can you tell us when did it happen, and is there any turning point that you think, oh, Bruckner is really the composer that I think the devotion is very required? Do you have a moment to start that off?
Well, as a member of an orchestra, as concertmaster of the Concertgebouw Orchestra, we have a huge and big Bruckner tradition, and we always played every year about 4 or 5 symphonies of Bruckner. And I explained also this morning when we were rehearsing this, that if you think of Bruckner being behind his organ and in the church where he was composing, this cathedral of sound, it means for me that the music of Bruckner needs really a fantastic acoustic. And I've been brought up in the Concertgebouw in Amsterdam. It's one of the best acoustics in the world. And I always take this acoustic, this sound. I try to take this sound with me. And even in our hall, which is a good hall, but it is not as good as the Musikverein in Vienna or Amsterdam Concertgebouw. Still, I try to come as close as possible to this hall or to a church sound. So what we are always looking for, especially in the trombone and trumpets and horns, we try to find a sound which comes close to a church. And also not only that it rings loud or it rings round, but it also is how do you let the first note you are playing speak for the audience? Is it coming in like this, or is it coming in like this? And that is very important for the strings, for instance. It's always a very, I would say, a technique from the right arm with a lot of heaviness, but not an attack. Not an attack. It's always like this. If you go to the organ where Bruckner composed, you hear he plays the note, then the air comes in the pipes, and then the sound starts. But it is not like this. And this is this is always what we should keep in mind if we make these compositions come alive.
This is a very interesting observation about organ, because organ is something not like the piano that you get an attack sound of
No,
attack.
no.
But organ
Doesn't have the hammers.
Yeah, and of course, because wind blowing to the pipe, it takes a bit time.
Exactly.
But you said one thing that's very important is that like the organ, the sound is very weighty, and it's very rich because the organ is so big. And with a lot of pipes sounding together, the sound is very weighty. But then it also the orchestra is trying to somehow is understand the roots of Bruckner's symphony, because he played. I mean, he taught organ. He wrote a lot of organ, and it seems that the music is also having a lot of quality of organ.
Oh yes, absolutely. I mean, there are a lot of chords that we are putting together. That those chords should never be like a slap in the face, but always like an start like an organ. And you know, it is easier for the wind players to get this organ sound because they same technique, same principle. It is first the air goes into your instrument, and then the instrument will produce the sound. With the strings, whatever it is, cello, bassi, violins, it's a little bit different. So we need, as a string player, if we want to come close to that sound of the organ, we need to use the right arm a little bit different. It's fantastic technique. If you are at the rehearsal, it's so much fun for us, to do a tandem piece, which we are doing before intermission. Very direct and a wonderful, very interesting new piece of him, and then go back to the old Bruckner and change your technique after 25 minutes.
I think that would be a very interesting experience, not only about the time difference between Tandem and the old master Bruckner, but also when we try to go into the hall and to experience the sound with the orchestra, and just like a cathedral, and with a massive sound like from an organ. And maybe we right now we'll take a little bit break, because Bruckner 7 will be up this week, but in recording we will have Bruckner sometime later. But right now we prepared another music excerpt. Is actually Dvorak, although a little bit different in the style. That's the D minor 7th Symphony, the third movement. We'll hear a little bit of the excerpt, take a little bit break, and leave the comments for the audience. So if you have any comments and questions for Maestro, please leave it in the YouTube and Facebook. So we have a listen to Dvorak 7th Symphony. So that's the excerpt from Dvorak's D minor symphony, the 7th symphony, the 3rd movement. So that's the recording from last year's concert. And maybe Maestro, we took some audience questions for you.
Please.
Yes, so an audience from Facebook called Ivan Key. So yes, he asked about, hi, Jaap, do you have planning to conduct all Mahler symphonies in Hong Kong?
I think besides Das Klagende Lied and Das Lied van de Erde and Symphony number 8,
yes,
we did all already. Yeah. So we are waiting to plan number 8. Mm-hmm. Das Klagende Lied, that is his first piece. Cantata, yes. Very beautiful piece. He was only 17 years old when he wrote that. And then Das Lied van de Erde. So yes, we have the plan to do that.
So please stay tuned for the entire Mahler experience. Yes. And of course, it has been going through all the years. And this year, we also have Mahler, the 1st symphony, also in this season. So yeah, please expect and also keep updated on the Hong Kong Philharmonic Orchestra website. And there's an audience from YouTube called Lawrence. Hi, Lawrence. And Lawrence said, hi, Maestro. What do you think is the biggest difference conducting the Hong Kong Phil versus orchestras in the United States or Europe?
Well, I think that every orchestra is different. What we do is all over the world the same. We try to have these pieces come alive. And sometimes I work with let's say the New York Philharmonic, an orchestra which is 178 years old. And then you go to Hong Kong Philharmonic, and we are 49 years.
49 years.
49
Yes.
young.
Yeah.
And so, you know, there is a difference in DNA, of course. The interesting thing is that all the orchestras worldwide, they are different. They have, I would say, almost their own soul. And they have, all the players, they have their different education. But interesting enough, if you have take a look at the New York Philharmonic, for instance, at the moment, we have almost, I would say, 50-50 Westerns, but the other 50% are Asians. So you see that, you know, you cannot say that this is a Western orchestra or an Asian orchestra. We are mingling. It's just the world is coming together, and because of great schools all over the world, we play all together. So I can see sometimes that there is a difference in, I would say, maybe approach of schools. And then you can see that this person has been at this school, or was in a school in Europe, or was at the Juilliard School, or was in a school in Hong Kong or in Shanghai. So there are all different schools, but wonderful is that, you know, you can see how people use their instruments. And you know, the wonderful thing is that all these schools can work for you. I would not say that there is one best school in the world. What I can say is there are some schools who are very attractive for great talent, because the possibilities are there. And the possibilities of really learning from each other. And that is a very interesting thing. If people are very open to learn from each other, that is a mentality, to be honest, I really love. And that I can see with Hong Kong Phil. People inspiring each other, learn from each other, and enjoying themselves, but also each other. And that is a thing I especially adore of this orchestra.
I think it's not only about the metropolitan nature of city itself, like Hong Kong or New York or other big cities in Europe, that connects a lot of people from different countries and from different nationalities. But it seems that music itself is also connecting people from different cultures and from background, and also, like what you said, from different schools.
Absolutely. And you know, personally, I'm very happy that when I, for instance, was in Dallas, I had, I think, 5 or 6 assistants. They were all ladies, conductors. And I will not say that I'm a pioneer, because thank God there are already long-time ladies. But, and I did not ask them to come to me and work with me because they were ladies. I asked them because they were the best at that, talented, and the best at that point. And so I'm a huge supporter of having young people, and especially now the young ladies, making such a fantastic career. This summer I teached again in Switzerland, and a lot of great talent is coming our way. So that's a very good sign.
So it's really a good sign that music is also bringing out these kind of talents, no matter of nationalities or even gender, but the people with the musical talent to be on the stage.
Yeah.
So this is really a good sign that music is bringing bringing us together and connecting people.
Yes.
Not on the season brochure. We mentioned a little bit about Mahler because of the audience asked, and not in the season brochure is that we are actually releasing a CD that is with Mahler.
Yeah.
And you just haven't mentioned is the 10th Symphony.
10th Symphony, yes.
The 10th Symphony that is actually recorded with the Hong Kong Philharmonic.
Yes.
Together with Shostakovich
10.
Number 10.
Yes.
So both number 10. And actually both symphonies are so personal, but very gigantic pieces.
Yes.
Any special reason you choose them to put that together in one CD?
If you want to be, and I always want to be honest, is that we just had these pieces ready, and it was number 10 and number 10, and I think, why not? Because we played it at the same time in Hong Kong, almost in the same time.
Yeah.
And then there was this unfinished symphony by Gustav Mahler, and it was finished by Mengelberg.
Yes.
And Mengelberg, of course, was a very, I would say, influential figure, a great conductor, and he was in very close and direct contact with Mahler himself. So, and this version, not very famous. We all know about the Cook version and things like that, but this version, not very famous. And he, by the way, Mengelberg did not complete the symphony. It's just, you know, this movement. But still, I think it's very interesting to have this been doing.
And one of the most important facts is that Mengelberg symphonies is actually premiered in 1924 in Concertgebouw.
Yes.
And so you have a lot of personal connection between, because you were the concertmaster of Concertgebouw.
Yes.
And Mengelberg, you mentioned, also have been working with Mahler personally.
Yeah.
He knew Mahler, and he was also a pioneer of Mahler's music in the 20s. So, and so you picked this edition. You have connection with this edition when you first read it or first try to get the music.
No, I have been always interested in the music directors of the Concertgebouw Orchestra, and I did not know that he actually also did some composing himself. And he did, for instance, there are etches, etches of Rembrandt van Rijn, the painter, and he took the etches, and with every etch he made music himself. He composed beautiful music and fantastic music. So when I learned about this piece, I recorded this piece, and I thought it's time now to do something else. And then I learned, actually not long ago, only 4 years ago, that he actually did this version with Mahler 10th Symphony. So I'm very happy and proud that we, the Hong Kong Philharmonic, are going to release this very soon. I think it's probably one of the first that's going to be on the market.
Yeah, and of course, there are lots of, like, Cook's version of
version.
Yes. Mengelberg is definitely one of the very rare. And of course, because Mengelberg had been working with Mahler during his lifetime, how does it affect Mengelberg's understanding of Mahler music? Do you have any special affinity to Mengelberg's understanding of Mahler?
Well, I cannot say a lot about his understanding because, he has to speak for himself, but he is not alive anymore. Yeah. There is one thing, of course, what is very interesting is that I see it myself, that working with a living composer is the most wonderful thing for a conductor, because we have always questions. We have doubts. We think we can go this direction or we can go that direction. But if you hear from the composer herself or himself what she or he wants. That is a privilege for us. And for that reason, I love to work with living composers. And it's wonderful, of course, that Mahler had such a direct contact with Mengelberg. I'm sure that, there are some scores in the library of the Concertgebouw in Amsterdam. They talk about what Mengelberg and Mahler talked about and what they discussed and how they framed certain symphonies and certain places in the symphonies. And I think because of that and because of the relationship, that somehow Mahler can approve what he did with this piece.
So that would be a very special rendition of the symphony with the Hong Kong Phil also, with the Mengelberg, and it coupled with Shostakovich Symphony No. 10, and will be released in this autumn and winter, in the remaining part of the 2022 season. So just please keep an eye on that, and that would be the Mahler Symphony No. 10 and also the Shostakovich Symphony No. 10, played by the Hong Kong Philharmonic Orchestra and conducted by Maestro Jaap van Zweden. Also, talking about Shostakovich, let's take a break on having some more music. So we picked Shostakovich No. 9, the first movement. So here is the Shostakovich No. 9. Please enjoy. So that's Shostakovich Symphony Number 9, E flat major, Opus 70, the first movement of that, and so it has the complete first movement. And before signing off with Maestro Jaap van Zweden, let me take one more question from audience from Facebook. That is Gashu Tabura, and so he said, "Hi, I'm so happy, Maestro, to be back to Hong Kong again, and I hope you will continue to conduct in the future. I know you started conducting when Bernstein conducted Mahler's First Symphony with Concertgebouw and maybe Berlin Philharmonic, I don't know. So I'm looking forward to listen to this piece in November with you conducting the Mahler First. And can you tell us the influences, like interpretation or conductor, etc., from Bernstein, especially for Mahler symphonies? Can you share with us a little bit on that?"
Of course. It depends, of course, a little bit about which symphony you're talking about. Because Mahler in his life had several stages. But if we are talking about the First Symphony, it has a very special meaning for me personally, because that was the first symphony that I was actually standing in front of an orchestra myself. Because Bernstein was conducting, and I was still the leader of the Concertgebouw Orchestra, and we went to a new hall, and it was in Berlin, and he was conducting, and he said, "I would like to go into hall and listen to it. He said to me, can you conduct the orchestra, and I will listen to it?" And I said, "But Maestro, I never conducted in my life." And he said, "Yeah, well, that's too bad. I just want to go into the hall, and you just conduct first movement." That was, I think, quite an experience, because it's not a feeling of power, but it is a powerful feeling, actually. And so I was completely overwhelmed. And he came to me afterwards. He said, "Well, of course, that was not very good, but I think this is something really for you. You should take this seriously and start to study how it is." And then, of course, going back to his influence, is that, for me, he made always very clear about how to use the instruments. And if you think about that, you have, as Mahler sees it, I think, the orchestra, he divides in 3 groups. You have the strings, the woodwinds, and then you have the you know, the horns and the trombone and trumpets. And I think that when you think about the woodwinds, it, especially in the first symphony, it has to do with nature. The nature plays a huge role in his life. And so there is a huge connection with the woodwinds and nature. Then his love for Alma Mahler, especially later on, he developed a very intense relationship with string instruments, melodies, and singing. That is always connected to Alma Mahler. And then from his youth, marching bands. Marching bands and fanfara and, you know, things like that. That's the trumpets, the trombone, horns. And so if you think about that, that is a big influence, of course, in how he composed. And then, of course, the influence of Bernstein is, of course, that Bernstein told us as players a lot of stories. For instance, one of the stories is that he had to, when Mahler wanted to become the music director of the Vienna State Opera, as a Jewish person, he had to go from a Jew into Christianity.
Catholic.
Yes, and he did. But the guilt feeling within himself, the struggle that he had done that, because of this struggle, it all comes back in his compositions, especially, I would say, in his later symphonies, and also his physical situation, especially in the ninth symphony, where, for instance, the opening of the first movement gives you a rhythm what is not the same. You know, it's tim pam pam pam, and it reflects it. He talks about his heart, his heartbeat, which is not regular. So his personal life was always there in his music. The loss of his daughter, who died very young, is especially in his songs. So, you know, and Bernstein always talked about the person Mahler, and so Bernstein himself influenced me personally tremendously. And there was always a story almost with every phrase, and yeah, that is a picture I never forget working with him. So I was very lucky.
Yeah, not only the warmth that we perceived Leonard Bernstein conducting on stage, but you witnessed that, and also I would say that because of his encouragement on conducting seriously, that would be a very important connection that you have had with Leonard Bernstein. So, well, thank you, Maestro Jaap van Zweden, for joining us. Well, this is Meet the Artist online session, and for those who've missed the season opening with Maestro Jaap last week, don't miss the upcoming one. And Maestro will be conducting the Hong Kong Philharmonic Orchestra with Bruckner Symphony No. 7, one of the composer's best-known symphonies and well-loved by Bruckner lovers all over the world. 2 concerts on Friday, Saturday evening on September 16th and 17th at the Hong Kong Cultural Center Concert Hall. And Maestro will be back in November also. So, well, stay tuned for more concerts with music director Jaap van Zweden. And tickets are now available. So we hope to see you at the concert hall. And once again, thank you, Maestro, to share with us tonight. And with that, I hope you all have a good evening. And thank you, Maestro.
Thank you.
Thank you. And bye-bye.
Bye-bye.